Kay Thomas here with a couple of doctors and a couple of people that know a lot about ribs. And you're probably thinking to yourself, doctors and ribs, what's going on? Well, these are the ribs you eat, okay? Like, yummy ribs from Shane's Rib Shack. More about that in just a bit. We're going to talk about PACK, and we have Dr. Melissa Nelson here, who's a pediatrician, Dr. Ted Abernathy, who's the chairman and board of directors for PACK, which is an acronym for Pediatricians Associated for Care for Kids. Okay, a lot of talk in the Richmond area about getting a children's only hospital built. And that's what you guys are here for, right, Dr. Abernathy?
That's exactly what we're here for.
Clear me up on something, because I hear about Children's Hospital in VCU, but it's not actually just a children's hospital there, is it?
Well, it's a children's hospital within a hospital, so that they have two floors that are where the kids are taken care of, but they are in an adult hospital. What we're looking for is a freestanding, independent children's hospital that's totally dedicated and exclusively dedicated to the care of kids, so that not one child will ever come into contact with an adult patient or with a staff member who has not been trained to care for kids.
Okay, now obviously that's really important. Could you tell us the reasons why that is so important?
Sort of relates to how kids behave when you put them in an adult environment.
Right.
It's a scary place, and if you read anything about Shane out on his website, when he was looking for a place to build, he was going around to all these different barbecue places and walked out and said, it's a shame that all the best places are such scary places. And he wanted a place that was comfortable and felt like home. And that's what we want our children's hospital to be. We want it to be comfortable, and we want the total experience from the time the child enters, from the first person that greets them at the door to the last person that tells them goodbye. They're trained to take care of kids, and they make the whole experience comfortable. Obviously, being in a hospital is not the best place a child would want to be, and lots of things are scary. And, I had a child tell me it best one time that was in a hospital that was a children's hospital within a hospital, and that child basically said, everyone was really nice, but I don't think they realized I was only a kid.
Right. They were treating the child as an adult, and you have to relate to a child on their level, on a different level. And that's really important when it comes to medical care. Dr. Nelson, you want to add something here?
I just wanted to chime in to say that what we're wanting to do here in Richmond is not something unique or new. This is actually something that's going on in every other city in America our size or bigger. And so we're just trying to bring the level of care for Richmond's children to the same standard of care that a child who's growing up in Hartford, Connecticut can receive, to the same standard of care that a child who's growing up in Atlanta, Georgia, receives. I've just been to Birmingham, Alabama, and I can tell you the care that they're providing the children in Birmingham is at a whole different level than what we're doing here in Richmond, Virginia. And that's because we have 3 adult healthcare systems competing for a very small pool of kids. Our children, we have fewer children in Richmond, and they don't get sick as much as you and me. We're adults, and we're constantly, having achy hips and, arthritis and our hearts and all that. But children don't get sick as often, and so when they do,
it's usually very serious.
It's usually serious, and they need to be treated as children. Taking care of a 2-month-old who's vomiting is a lot different than taking care of an 80-year-old who's vomiting. And so we're talking about bringing the level of care here in Richmond to the same standard that children all over America are receiving.
So let me ask you a question here. Why isn't there a children-exclusive hospital in Richmond? I know that's probably a loaded question and a long story, but...
Honestly?
Yeah.
There isn't a children's hospital in Richmond in spite of all of the studies that have been done. In the last 10 years, 6 studies all showed that this hospital would be financially viable and successful into the future.
Right.
And they didn't keep doing studies because they came back with different answers. They all came back with the same answer. It will work, and it is needed. But people, passions, ego, all got in the way.
Right.
Money, dollars, position, and not once in the time that we've been doing this for the last 2.5 years, in as many meetings as we have sat in, not once has there ever been a consideration for the kids. Not once have they said, hey, let's make this decision based on what's right and best for kids. It's always been about the same thing, location or dollars or position or power.
And I'm going to chime in here, too.
Yeah.
We're asking our community to stop having a short view and start having a long view. And it's hard to change that culture. For years now, we've had these 3 very successful adult healthcare systems. And we're asking them to put kids first this time, to really do what's right for all of our children and take the children out of these adult healthcare systems and create them a system of care that makes the child the star of the show. And that's a big culture change here in Richmond.
Dr. Melissa Nelson, Dr. Ted Abernathy, and Shane of Shane's Rib Shack are here among a group of people who've assembled for what's very important. We're talking about PACKids, which is Pediatricians Associated to Care for Kids. And the goal here is to get a children's-only hospital in Richmond. How is that going to happen?
Well, the simplest way it can happen is we have the advantage of what most cities have not had, and that is a wonderful philanthropic community.
Absolutely.
So we have the generous gift of essentially 1/3 the cost of the hospital. And the simplest way to make this happen is that the 3 hospital systems now, who are all competing for the same children, HCA, Bon Secours, and VCU, would come together and say, let's do what's right for the kids and build this freestanding independent hospital. That's all it would really take. Can we do it with only one of them? Probably. Would it be better to have 2? Yes.
And hopefully all 3 all together. I'm sure you've talked with others in the medical community. What is the status right now? How are others feeling about this idea?
Well, VCU, as you know, has announced that they're going to do this alone, that they're going to go alone and build their own children's hospital. That will be owned by VCU. It will be independently governed by an independent board. And there is some talk that the financial dollars for the hospital will stay within the hospital, but we're not 100% sure that will happen. A perfect example of that is Vanderbilt down in Nashville, Tennessee. Right. It's the same model. And that hospital, the children's hospital, is now suffering because funds are being funneled to the adult hospital to make up for the losses that are there. Yet you turn around and you look at a Cincinnati Children's, that is the model that we're proposing, where it would be independently owned and have strong academic affiliation, for example, with VCU for the specialists, for the teaching component, for the research component, and Cincinnati is thriving. So if we have one hospital system that's fully on board, and that's Bon Secours. If VCU would just step up and join us, we could not only build this hospital, but we could actually make the entire university better than they are today.
Dr. Nelson, you want to chime in?
What we don't want to have happen is for each of our separate healthcare systems to announce that they're building their own children's hospital. That's happening right now in San Antonio, Texas, where they have 3 children's hospitals going up. What I want and what PACKids wants, the pediatricians who care for your kids, is for all children in our region to get equal care together. And by separating out kids, so if you live on a bus line, you go to Hospital X, and if you have access to a car, you're going to go to Hospital Y, I think it would be a huge mistake and a huge setback, and we would be further separating our children's care, and I will argue it will provide unequal care for our children. What we can do now is move forward together as a community to provide equal care together for all of our children. So no matter where you live or what part of town you live in, you're going to have access to the same care that every other child in our community receives. So we need now to make sure that we, as a community, demand that these healthcare systems work together instead of furthering this arms race where we're separating out kids depending on their economic status or whether they live on a bus line or not. And so I feel good about the communities, the grassroots that are, the voice of the community is starting to rise. And Shane's Rib Shack has really moved our voice to a whole nother level. I mean, I do feel like through the opening of Shane's, we were able to reach out to so many mothers, fathers, caregivers, and the noise is just going to get louder.
So listen up. We're talking about PACKids, Pediatricians Associated to Care for Kids. We have Dr. Melissa Nelson, a pediatrician, Dr. Ted Abernathy, really kind of the co-founder behind this whole thing. And, of course, Shane and Rice from Shane's Rib Shack here, a local business that a lot of people really like, and that's where ribs and children's health care get involved. Shane, tell us why you decided to get behind this effort to get a children's only hospital in the Richmond area. And Rice, please join him.
Well, everybody's a doctor. You forgot to announce I am a doctor of barbecue. So I am.
My mistake. Sorry. Dr. Barbecue is with us.
Well, on a serious side, when I started my business almost 12 years ago, the entire business was built around the community. So when we had the opportunity to come here to Richmond and not only share barbecue, but be a part of something that's bigger. And Rice, the partner with me, he said, talk to me about PACKids. And as I learned more about it, it's great to be able to be aligned with something that you can see built. And so not only is it something we get in so-called on the ground level, but it is something that you're going to see is tangible. And I'll tell you, I'm from a suburb of Atlanta. I think Richmond is still pretty much the South. We argue about that. But I will tell you, the Children's Hospital, I have 4 kids. We will drive 60 miles to take our kid to a children's hospital, and we've used it quite a bit because my kids they're pretty rough little kids. But the care you get in a children's hospital is completely different. We will bypass a medical center that's really in our backyard. And I was in the medical field for 16 years. And I'll tell you, getting behind something like this is not only good for your community, it's good for these kids that are here. So we were just proud that we could even be a part of something that's not only you're going to get to see, this community will get to be able to see something from the ground up, similar to what I love to see what's happened with our business. And we're just glad to be a part of it. And we're honored that, the great thing about this, when I asked Rice, I said, well, what do they want, for us? They just want support and the voice to be behind it. There wasn't dollars they wanted or anything. They just want to get this hospital here for the community. But
dollars did come into play.
Well, dollars always do, but the thing is
in a good way,
in a great way. But the community, if the community supports it, the community will be able to drive by this hospital and know that their voice had a part in doing that. The same way that again our business was built is one person at a time, going out and talking about how great Shane's is. We believe we got the best barbecue anywhere, but there's more to it. And this community to even have something like this that can impact for generations, like I hope my business does. We're just glad to be a part of it. And Rice was really spearheaded behind that and wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah, and the reason we wanted to get involved, I've talked to Melissa about this for 2 or 3 years and got to know about PACKids. And I hear from Melissa, my business is more finance than barbecue, although I've gotten to know barbecue pretty well over the past 5 years. I hear from her, here we are, we're the largest city in the country without a children's hospital, standalone consolidated children's hospital. And we got the money to do it. I mean, why aren't we doing it? This is nuts.
Yeah,
what
exactly.
are we waiting for?
Exactly.
And then I learned more, and I found out that it's because the city can't come together and team up to do this, and it just doesn't make any sense. And especially when one of the groups is VCU, they're a public institution, they're part of the community. Why don't they hop on board? I mean, it's just, this is nuts.
Well, and what's funny, Rice saying that, I was worried because I understand political. All I like to do is sell barbecue and make people happy. But on the flip side of that, if you're standing behind something that's right, which this would be right for this community, I don't have any affiliation with VCU, but if somebody stands in the way of something that can benefit a community, they really need to step back and see what are they really trying to prevent here. Obviously, a great medical center for kids.
Right. And why do you think someone would stand in the way?
I think what the doctor said earlier
Dr. Abernathy?
Dr. Abernathy, it's egos, it's political, it's dollars. But at the end of the day, you have a great community like this that has a need for a children's hospital, and people need to put away theirs. And again, I hope that if you're against this, you still like Shane's Barbecue. Again, we're aligning with something obviously that's got a little bit of political pull into it, but it's the right thing to do. And this community has a wonderful opportunity. And the fact the financing is behind it, or a lot of it, and the things that are happening, this community needs to stand behind it.
What would you say to an individual or a business listening right now? Why should they become involved? Rice?
Because it'd be great for our city to have a children's hospital.
Right.
I mean, we are the largest city in the country without a consolidated children's hospital.
Why?
And we have the money available. And it really, I think people just need to call VCU and say, get on board. This is something be phenomenal for our community.
Well, and the fact that, again, I go back to my personal experience, if you call an ambulance for one of your children and you're on 60 miles away on the south side of, quote, Atlanta, they're going to take you to the children's hospital because that's what they know what to deal with. Well, if you're missing that in Richmond, I think egos need to get out of the way and get in this community what you need to have.
So what's best for the kids?
What's best for the kids?
Okay. Dr. Melissa Nelson, a pediatrician, joins us again. Again, we're talking about PACKids. If you're just joining us, it's Pediatricians Associated to Care for Kids, and we're talking about getting a children's only hospital here in Richmond, or one of the main cities in the country who doesn't have one. Dr. Nelson?
You know, one thing that really brought our community together, I felt, was when the University of Richmond and VCU were both competing in the national basketball tournament, and we were all quick to say we're from Richmond. And in particular, Shaka Smart has really changed VCU in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And as an alum from VCU, I'm excited to see the support that VCU has given Shaka Smart and what it has done for VCU and how proud people are to be a part of it because of him and the program he's putting on there. Well, I believe this children's hospital is the Shaka Smart of the medical center for VCU. And I think that this children's hospital project, if VCU would agree to be a part of something bigger than itself, agree to be something that's part of the whole state of Virginia, I believe that this children's hospital would put VCU's medical school and in particular the Department of Pediatrics in a whole nother level. And so it's not what the children's hospital it's not what VCU is going to do for the children's hospital in my mind. It's what this children's hospital project is going to do for VCU.
Interesting. Dr. Abernathy, I see you waiting in the wings there, ready to add your 2 cents, so please do.
Our vision, the vision of the PAC, is greater than the vision of any of the systems, greater than what Bon Secours wants, VCU wants, or HCA. It really expands out to doing what is the right thing for kids. And when we've worked for 2.5 years and we've learned a lot, the PAC board is extremely experienced now, and there were a lot of things that we didn't know. We didn't realize how hard VCU was working to build up a premier faculty, and they've done that. We have got great faculty. We've got great doctors to take care of kids, but the whole experience is difficult, so people don't go there. They aren't referred there because it's just too difficult to get a child seen and taken care of. But the care can be transformed by this hospital. So when you think about what we have, you have to think about what we are going to lose. And I've watched over the last 10 years, 20-plus specialists leave our area. We just lost 2 because and where did they go? They went to a children's hospital. Okay. So what we are about to lose is a wonderful philanthropic gift that will make this hospital successful. And over the time period, as these hospitals build up competing systems, we will start to lose specialists. So the care of children will actually go down. So this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We have a great friend of the PAC who told us one time, you know, ever so often, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity comes along, and it does not make a difference whether it's a person or an event or whatever. If you do not grab it, it will be lost forever. And if it does happen to come around, it will not be in your lifetime. Well, this is Richmond's once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have a truly world-class children's hospital that's exclusively for kids. And we can make not only the care better, we can make our entire city better.
How close? I'm sorry. How close are we to getting this children's hospital? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being there, 1 being not a chance.
We have come so far from where we started. 2.5 years ago, this was dead in the water. And when we started with just 3 or 4 pediatricians, and then 7, and then 15, and a band of brothers grew to over 350 pediatricians who are behind this and supporting it. And we've kept this conversation going for the last 2.5 years. Every time a system felt like we were getting too close to success, they would change the conversation. And we're masters now of controlling the conversation, and we're going to get a whole lot better. So we are closer than we've ever come before, because we're not giving up. Our focus is the kids. And what it's going to take now is a focused and engaged community to help us spread that word that says we will accept nothing less than a freestanding, independent children's hospital. Every excuse that has been given to us why we can't do it, every myth that they've put out, we've been able to bust. And quite honestly, they're really out of excuses. I mean, it's time to build. There are no more excuses.
Can I just ask a question? Actually, if VCU said that they would be willing to be the research arm of this entity, would we be done and moving forward?
Well, it's not would they be willing. We want them. I mean, we want to build that research center. There is research going on down there, but for example, with cancer research, we're low. We're at the bottom of the barrel with most of the research dollars. We want them to be our research arm. We want them to be our academic arm. We want to educate new physicians and medical students. We want their participation. I mean, you can look at there are 250 children's hospitals, and out of that 250, the top hospitals, there are 52 that are freestanding, and that 52 trains 50% of the pediatricians and 35% of the pediatric specialists. So we need them, and we can make them both better by standing, but we can also make them better financially.
Now, let me ask you this in closing. Individuals, businesses, the community listening to this conversation right now about PACKids, they want to make a difference. They want to help. What do they do? Is there a website, a phone number, something they can do right now?
I want to be sure I say, as a pediatrician in this community, that I'm so grateful to Shane's Rib Shack, for Shane and Rice, for putting the kids first. We have seen these hospitals and foundations actually choosing sides in this, and nobody's picked the kids yet. And this today, I'm proud to say that Shane's Rib Shack picked the kids first to be on the winning team. And so I'm so grateful as a pediatrician and as a mother that they've picked the children in our community to be the winners this time. And I think this is just the beginning. We've also gotten support from Virginia Women's Center,
Excellent.
from other small groups. So this is a significant day for PACKids, and so I'm extremely grateful.
Shane and his wife made a statement, and I got this off the website, that the greatest thing that you can do for your country is to give back. And that's what we need right now. We need the community to focus and not give their dollars. We would love to have their financial support, but we need to have their voice. We need for them to give the voice. And Shane said it the best. That's what makes a strong country, and that's what's going to build strong kids and a strong city. We, for 2 years, have been very quiet publicly, and we're about to be not so quiet publicly. So they can go to PACKids.org.
PACKids.org.
PACKids.org. And give us about another 2 weeks, and we'll have spelled it out exactly what they can do to help.
Okay, that's PACKIDS.org, PACKids.org.
Also, please go to our Facebook page because we're trying to really keep that an active conversation. And then reach out to these hospital systems. VCU has just announced publicly that they have a proposal on the table. Let's get engaged in that discussion. Let's really look at this at this proposal and demand that the community be a part of the discussion. We want to be a part of the discussion. And so we want to hold them to their word, allow us to come together as a community to create one children's hospital that takes care of all of our children.
And give back by using their voice. Take the time to look up who your legislature is and call your legislator and say, hey, I want my tax dollars going for something that will be successful long into the future, and PACKids has the answer.
PACKids.org, Dr. Melissa Nelson, a pediatrician, also Dr. Ted Abernathy, very involved with PAC. We have Shane and Rice here from Shane's Rib Shack, and thank you all for coming in and talking about PACKids. Again, PACKids.org, the website, and this is going to be very interesting. We hope to have you back in a few months to see how things are going.
We'd love to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.